musician, our journeys are they're so crazy. So we have many high highs and very many low lows. And so I wrote this song last year when I was in one of those lows. And it was aspirational because I could feel that I could be powerful, I could be doing the things that I would like to do, but I wasn't there yet. So this is Power Pose.
So she dropped them low, did her 1, 2 flow, even though she didn't know what tomorrow may hold. Hold.
The girl knew she was more than a boss in a parallel universe. Round of applause, she's a force, better reckon it. And the
world couldn't stop her,
and the
world couldn't block her,
and the
world couldn't stop her,
and the
world couldn't block her.
Armed with a voice, she has a choice, play it big or go home. No, better reckon it. And the
world couldn't stop her,
and the
world couldn't block her,
and the
world couldn't stop her,
and the
world couldn't block her.
So she dropped them low, did her 1, 2 flow, even though she didn't know what tomorrow may hold. Hands in the air, threw her worries in the air, didn't know what tomorrow may hold.
So she dropped them low, did her 1, 2 flow, even though she didn't know what tomorrow may hold.
Hands in the air, threw her worries in the air, didn't know what tomorrow may hold. Power posing, let me see you. Power posing, let me see you. Power posing,
power posing, let me see you. Power posing, let me see you. Power posing.
Person who likes to have all of her ducks in a row. I function best when I know what's going to happen in my life over the next few years. And this has pretty much been how my working career has gone for almost 20 years in the hotel industry. I've moved from position to position, from company to company, I've worked in different countries, including here in Kenya, in Zambia, Switzerland, and also in the USA. A number of years ago, I had a chance to work in Kuwait for about 6 months. And this is probably one of the shortest working stints I did. And the reason is that one fine morning, the owner of this particular hotel, the Arab owner, woke up and decided that he no longer wanted to have an African woman heading up his sales department. Now, I was a little bit puzzled when my general manager told me this because I was thinking, but I've been black and female since I was born. I'm black and female. When I applied for the job, I sent you my photo with a CV. But I realized, you can't reason with a racist. In these Middle Eastern countries, you get these business owners and hotel owners who tell their general managers that they want to hire front office women who have blonde hair and blue eyes, long legs, and they can speak both Arabic and English. So anyway, I bought a ticket, packed my bags, and came back home. And thankfully, this bump in the road didn't last for too long, and within a few months, I was able to get a new work position. But they say that history repeats itself. And fast forward to the year 2015. By this time, I was working for a different company. It was a high-end safari company. And we were dealing with a kind of clientele who would very easily pay $800 or $1,000 per day per person to go and stay in the Masai Mara or some other very exotic location in Kenya. I was a marketing manager. It was a job I really enjoyed. I was working with a very nice bunch of people. And it was a tough time in the hotel industry. There had been several terrorist incidences that had given Kenya the reputation of being an unsafe destination. So we had a lot of work trying to convince people to come and stay in lodges in Kenya. One afternoon, I was busy working, and I get called into my boss's office for an unexpected meeting. And within about 15 minutes, this woman proceeded to rearrange my life and basically tell me that I no longer had a job with this company. Now, I won't get into the details of why they were restructuring, but let's just say that I was completely shocked, taken aback. Losing my job yet again was not part of my plans for the year. Granted that nobody plans to get themselves fired. But I remember I walked out of her office and I went to my desk to start clearing out. And, when you get fired from a job, it's not like how you see it in the movies where there's always conveniently this empty carton box sitting somewhere that you can pick up, pack your things in dignified silence, say goodbye to a few people and walk out. The reality is I could only pack and take with me what I could stick into my handbag and carry under one arm. I handed back the laptop, I gave back the business cards, and I walked out without talking to anybody, basically because I was speechless. I didn't even know what to make of what had just happened. I walked out of the building, and I remember it was a very beautiful afternoon. So I didn't go home. I decided to go for a late lunch, and I went to a nice restaurant. I ordered a steak lunch, a glass of wine. After that, I had a nice dessert. But I wasn't really focusing on my meal. My mind was on what had just happened less than 1 hour ago and how my whole life had just been turned upside down. I just kept replaying that conversation, that 15 minutes with my former boss. She said, I said, she said, I said. Should I have said something different? Did I not see this coming? And at some point, I think I remember thinking to myself, maybe I've imagined this. And maybe I'll go home and I'll sleep and I'll wake up and find it's all been a bad dream and I'll just go to work tomorrow, as usual. I think that's a stage that psychologists call denial, and something terrible has happened. So I went home and I slept like a baby, and I woke up the next day, and that's when reality hit me. I'm out of a job. And now I suddenly got into this stage of I got so angry. So angry. I'd been very peaceful the day before, but this day was totally different. There was anger, there was bitterness. I kept thinking back to that afternoon and replaying the conversation. I was asking myself, why me? Why not so-and-so? I work so hard. I'm in the office early before hours. I stay until late. I'm there on the weekends. And then I kept replaying this conversation. And that was all I could think about that day, and the next day, and the next day. And it went on for days. I started looking for a job almost right away. I updated my CV and started sending it out. going on to websites. I called up a few people to say that, I'm back in the market for a job. But it was almost as though I was job hunting on an autopilot mode, like a robot, because my whole mind and focus was on this thing that has happened, replaying what has happened, anger, the pain, the just feeling like I can't believe this is happening to me. I remember the end of the month came, and I'm in this mode where not much is happening. And of course, bills have to be paid, rent is due, there's no longer a salary to support this, which then added onto my stress. And it was a very tough time again to be looking for a job. Nobody was hiring at the time. In fact, people were laying off, companies were laying off people, downsizing. So it was not a time to be looking for a management position. And this went on now, weeks turned into months. I'm looking for a job, nothing is coming out. I'm getting more and more frustrated. I wake up in the morning and I'm just mentally stressed out. I keep thinking back to this afternoon and replaying the conversation. And every time I would remember my former boss, I would come up with these phrases, and they all started with an F word. And at some point I said, if I continue like this, I'm going to end up in hospital or even worse. Something has to change. And so eventually what I did is I trained myself to, each time I remember what has happened and thought about this former boss, I would think of another F word, and that word was forgiveness. I had to teach myself to forgive what has happened and this person who I believed had wronged me, because I had to move on. Now, forgiveness, in my definition, is letting go of something that has happened, no matter how terrible or unjust or unfair. It's accepting that something has happened, and it can't be reversed, it can't be changed, you can't erase it. The only option is to move forward. And it's not as though I called her up or I sent her an email and I said, I forgive you. It's just that every single time I remembered and I thought of her and I thought of this terrible thing in my life, I would forgive in my mind. And because the human mind is incapable of forgetting, I had to do it over and over and over again. 70 times 7 times is what one wise man once said. But what I found was that with time, it became easier to forgive. With time, I was thinking less about the past and focusing more on the future, which is what I call the point I began to reinvent myself and to think, okay, what next? And when you're in this place of unemployment, I found myself thinking a lot. I guess because I had a lot of time to myself, so I could think. And one of the things I used to think about is, who am I? Where do I derive my sense of identity and value and self-worth? I mean, now that I no longer have the business card to give out, I don't have the title, I don't have affiliation to this and that company, have I lost value or become irrelevant? And I thought about it, I said, no, I can't be, because I'm still here, I wake up every morning, life is continuing. And I came to the conclusion that whatever value I have is intrinsic. It's inside of me, and it can't be taken away. And for me, my intrinsic value is my experience, my knowledge, academic qualifications. It's also intangible things like being able to form relationships with people, interacting, networks that I formed, my self-belief and my confidence. All of this forms a package of intrinsic value which I take with me to the office and I bring it back home. When I move from place to place, company to company, country to country, my value stays with me unless I choose to let go of it. And so in a nutshell, that's how I was able to reinvent myself and go into a different line of work. I'm now a consultant trainer, so I work with different companies and organizations. And I'm also an independent writer with different publications, local and international. I write on topics of arts, culture, travel, tourism, conservation, and different other things. And when I look back, 5 years ago, I could never have imagined that I would leave the hotel industry, which I really enjoyed, and then move into a totally different line of work and also find enjoyment in that. Now, this journey of reinventing and transformation has not been easy. Anybody who is self-employed or has started their own business will tell you that it's not for the faint of heart. It's a very lonely life. The income is up and down all over the place. You have years like this one, which has been terrible all around. And you just have to find it within you to keep moving on. You have to remember that I came from a place where I always worked with companies which had structures and systems and procedures in place, to now this place where I have to learn to do everything on my own, no support. You find days that you're wondering, why hasn't anybody called me? I used to wonder, actually, the first few days, why did none of my colleagues that I previously worked with give me a call, find out where I was? I don't know why I expected that they would, but I did wonder, did they not wonder what happened to me when I walked out without saying a word, didn't come back? But I've come to realize that there is a difference between friends and acquaintances. Acquaintances have no obligations towards you, which is fine. Family has been wonderful, very supportive, although I get the occasional relative who looks at me and says, "So what are you doing?" And I say to them, well, in the back of my mind, I say, you asked me that question 6 months ago and last year, and I gave you the same answer. What aspect of me are you not understanding? And the thing is, when you make such a drastic transformation of your life, people don't know what to do with you. I found that people don't know how to interact, or conversations seem to die out after 1 or 2 minutes. There were times where I thought, well, I've been promised a coffee date, but it doesn't seem to be materializing. Sometimes I'd meet people in a supermarket and they'd wave at me from afar and zip around the corner. And you almost go through what is called the temporary loss of social esteem, when people don't know where to place you. Are you successful or not successful? Crazy or courageous? And I came to the point where I said, you know what? I really don't care anymore what people think about me. I mean, if I'm not doing something illegal or immoral, why should I worry what you're thinking about me, about what I'm doing, the way I'm dressed, my hair, what car I drive, where I live? Those are your issues to deal with. Mine is I need to get on with the business of life, and I need to focus on the people who matter in my life. And this is a choice I made. In fact, my life has become a continuous series of choices. I make choices every day. I make the choice to wake up in the morning on time. I choose to be happy. I choose to look for opportunities. I choose to maintain a social life and get out there and interact and be with people and face uncomfortable questions and strange looks. And I also choose to be thankful. Now, I know thankfulness and the attitude of gratitude are overused phrases, but I got a new take on them about a year ago when I went to some event and there were different speakers. And one person said that every day he makes a list of 20 things that he is grateful for. And something about that statement stuck with me, and I decided to incorporate that into my life. And so now every day when I wake up in the morning and before I even get out of bed, I make a mental note of 20 things that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for friends, I'm thankful for family, I'm thankful for work, I'm thankful I have a roof over my head, there's food on the table, I'm in good health, I move around in relative safety and come home in one piece. I'm even thankful for challenges, because I've come to realize there's no such thing as a life without challenges, it's just how you deal with them. And that whatever challenges I'm going through, I'm guaranteed somebody else is going through a lot worse. And I learned that lesson in a new way not too long ago when I went to visit a friend in hospital. He's in ICU, so rather sick. And he just lies in bed all day, doesn't talk much, is mostly sleeping, doesn't eat too much either, and he's breathing with the aid of an oxygen ventilator. And when I left the hospital, right away I had something new to be thankful for. I'm thankful that I can walk, I can talk, I can enjoy my food, I can breathe on my own. So there you have it. Yes, you can, if you choose to. You can rise up from a situation of failure. Yes, you can forgive. Yes, you can reinvent yourself. And yes, you can find 20 things to be thankful for every day. Thank you.
About 15 years ago, I met this tall, handsome young man. I remember I was in my final year of high school, and he was in his final college year. I was pretty young. I was weighing about 35 kgs of niceness, and yeah, I was 35. And dating was literally the last thing in my mind. My parents are retired teachers. As a matter of fact, my dad was a headmaster. So, for us, life was about books and nothing but books. So that happened, and that was just it. I was ministered to, they sang with the group they came with, and things were fine. I cleared high school, and about 3 years later, I come to the city and walk into a meeting. And guess who I meet? Yes, the same tall, handsome, young guy. Still looking refined. I was so excited to see him. And I could sense he was looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still young. And so this time I remember going home and doing something rather weird. If I look back now, I went, knelt by my bed and said, Lord, in high school I was young. Now I'm of age. So if that is meant to happen, this is the time. And so I got to know him, and unknown to me, he was actually a friend to my brothers. And so I kind of just slid in. So I also became a friend. And before we knew it, we were spending lots of our free time together. He'd pick me up, take me for ice cream. He actually took me for my first movie. Let me tell you why this movie is very memorable to me. My dad was a headmaster. Did I say that? And that meant there was nothing like TV in our house. In fact, the first TV that was brought into our house was after I was in Form 4. And anytime there was a movie or something was happening on TV, we'd actually pray that, Lord, may no one hug. May there be no kisses, because if they got close, yeah, my dad would go like, Zima your TV. Like, okay, boss. So I went for this movie. I had no experience, and I want to just be the nice girlfriend. And so I sat there with one eye open and another one just looking, checking, like, what's happening here? Yes, the popcorn, I know I should eat that. And what else? And so at some point, I saw my boyfriend kinda dozing. And I said, oh, probably at this point, we're supposed to doze off. So I actually just shut my eyes and said, all right, let me play along. So one eye open and waiting for him to probably wake up. And then he opened his eyes and said, oh, really, how's the movie? I'm thinking, I don't even remember the title of the movie. But that was it. And so after about another 2 years of dating, we got married in this beautiful, beautiful garden wedding. And I remember us sitting during our honeymoon, talking about our dreams, our hopes, our desires. In fact, we were going to have 2 children, a boy and a girl. The girl was to be named as a reminder of our honeymoon. And so things were just flawless. It was all nice, honeymooners, all young, enjoying marriage, until about 6 months into our marriage, I woke up with this pain that I wasn't understanding. I mean, it was just normal periods, ladies know. And I was thinking, why am I in so much pain? So my husband held my hand and took me to the hospital, and we were given some report on cysts. And I'm here wondering, what are cysts? I was balancing tears, thinking, okay, what next? And then he held my hand and told me, you know what? The Lord who brought us here has a way out. So I was given medication. And of course, I went home and went online. That's what we all do, like cysts. Natural remedy for cysts. Can cysts kill you? What happens? And so I was treated, and life went back to normal. We were back home, still honeymooners, having a good time. And then we were just forgetting the pain. Boom! Pain again. And so this time I say, it's a bit different. It's too much now. This was about 1 year, 9 months into marriage. I'm thinking, it's a bit too much. What could be the problem? And so my good husband again holds my hand, takes me to the doctor and says, fix my wife, help her. And this time, the doctor put me up on that uncomfortable bed and checked me out and said, I think you're going in for surgery. And I'm thinking, why? I've never even been admitted in a hospital. And there was not much time to think about it because I was told we have to do this in a week's time. And so I remember I went to the hospital. I was admitted. My husband came again, prayed with me before I was wheeled into the theater. In fact, he bought for me my first new Bible. I treasure it to date. Brought it to the hospital and said, you know what? Read it when you wake up and I'll be here. And so I was taken into the theater, and the doctor removed some fibroids and cysts. So I got up and said, we're alive. Life goes back to normal. Went back home. This time I was like, now this is it. Probably we shouldn't delay getting children. We probably should try. We need to try. And knowing our African culture, that is just something else. So everything was fine. Trust me, we were living a perfect marriage. I was employed, he was employed. No issues, just two lovebirds trying to enjoy life. And this time we were sure that all was sorted, but I think we were wrong again. And after another 2 years, to be precise, I was in indescribable pain. I actually remember the day, just like yesterday, it's still so fresh. I got up, it was a weekend, a Sunday. So we wake up, then I realized I can actually not stand straight. Like something was literally pulling me, my tummy was pulling so bad. And I was saying, if this is what menstruation is supposed to be, then I'd rather not have it. And so I remember feeling so uncomfortable, we had to rush to the hospital. So going all bent, wondering, what is it? Again, my husband with me, driving me, and we get to the hospital. I am checked. And the first thing the doctor says is, you're not going back home. And I wonder, why? I'm a strong woman. Just, if it's pain, just give me some painkillers. I can manage. We are women. We are strong. And he said, you know what? You are actually going in now. He said, told my husband, go prepare her clothes because she has to be wheeled in. So we went to the hospital emergency door, and I was wheeled into the theater. By that time, I cannot describe what I was feeling. So I went and I was given one of those strong painkillers. Actually, it was a morphine shot to calm me down. It was that bad. And after that, I relaxed in preparation for a major surgery that evening. I was getting emotional and wondering, I've lived right. My father was a church elder. My mother was serving in the church. We've been taught to live straight lives. No boyfriend, nothing like that. So I'm like, is this a punishment of some sort or what? Anyway, I was taken in for surgery. And this time, when the results came back, there were these complicated terms that you're suffering from endometriosis. And I'm there thinking, what? What is that? I've never heard that. I mean, it's a hospital, you don't have a chance to go online, check, And I'm like, at least they should tell me if it's meant to kill me. And if I die, at least I'll write in my will that if my husband marries this person, I'm coming back. You know, women had thoughts. I know women think like that at times. Anyway, the surgery went really well. Endometriosis was the report. And so I had to be educated, what is it? What does it mean? I mean, what does it mean for me? And I learned that it's a chronic medical condition. It has no known cure. So what is basically done is to manage the pain and just a few lifestyle changes for you to move on. In fact, simply explain, endometriosis is appearance of endometrial tissue outside the uterus, causing severe pelvic pain. And it's mainly associated with menstruation. So I was going home, having a big term for disease, and thinking, okay, things went back to normal. Some months are hard, I have to admit. Actually, most months are hard. And you see, endometriosis comes with pregnancy-like symptoms. My name is Hadassah. I'm a childless woman. I'm a queen in my husband's eyes. Trust me, I know I am. And I'm the founder of an organization called Waiting Wombs Trust. I've been married for 11 years and about 6 months. And we do not have a child. We're still waiting. I was telling you that endometriosis comes with pregnancy-like symptoms. So every other month, I'm used to people coming and saying, hey, congratulations. But what can I do? I mean, it makes me really uncomfortable because most times it happens when I am in pain and I am bloated. So I actually appear pregnant. It's Africa. After 3 years, everyone expects you to be pregnant or having a child. What you probably don't know is it can get really complicated being married for so long and having no children. It's complicated because it actually complicates your relationship. The world probably views you as invisible. You become like a stranger. You belong to another race. You probably are nobody. And sadly, it can get to your head and even get you depressed. That was who I was a few years ago. I didn't see any meaning to life. I thought life was about pain, being answerable to people, because when I went to church for solace, my tummy was rubbed because I probably looked pregnant. I go to the office to work on a normal work day, and someone comes with a newspaper. I still remember the article very well. It was titled, Men Shooting Blanks. And so the person walked, and we were seated on a round table with colleagues and said, Hadassah, this could be your problem. And I say, okay, we'll probably try another style. You know, these things people just try. And that was it for me. I'm kind of learning to rub it away, you know, because trust me, everyone has a solution. Everyone. Like I go up country, and if I hear someone say, I need to see you. I know I'm expecting some heavy 5-liter dirty jerry can with herbal medicine. So I've just learned to tell them, you know what? I still have like 3 in the list. Yours is the 4th. Give me some time. And life continues. There are people who are so brave who will come and ask you, what are you still waiting for? Or for how long are you going to keep your figure? Or why are you wasting your husband? Or something like, you probably do not know the moves. You need to try something different. I'm like, who tells people? How did you all get children? Those who have children. Life could be tough. And I know all of you have probably come across a colleague or a sister or a friend or someone who's childless, not by choice, like me. Because you see, every 1 in 8 couples is involuntarily childless. It's totally complicated because first, the pressure is from you. How many times have you dissed someone because of their situation? So if I stand here speaking for many others like me, how can you support us? Maybe just to share a few tips. Number 1, do not use this line. Let's agree. What are you still waiting for? Or, why can't you just adopt? Hey, adoption is for everyone. It's not just for childless couples. And trust me, we know our kind of setup. Most couples who've been married for over 3 years are probably trying, or you never know, maybe they just suffered a miscarriage, you have no idea of, or maybe like us, we're still trying to come to terms with our medical conditions. Number 2, if you don't know what to say, silence. Do not refer to us as barren or sterile. Yule tasa, yule gumba. I understand those are English terms, those are Swahili words, but from where I sit, they sound very, very insensitive. I know there are times when you plan a baby shower and you're wondering, what will she feel if I invite her? Invite us, do not lock us out. In fact, if you're pregnant, just let us know. And if we don't come for the baby shower, please bear with us. Probably we are not emotionally stable. Do not use comments like, your husband is probably shooting blanks. Because let me tell you, there are men who actually have medical conditions that affect that aspect of their lives. So you could be joking about it, and someone is actually struggling. I know you watch news every other day and you hear stories of someone has been done this to because they were childless. And do you know who actually kicks them out? Relatives. I've been to funerals where someone stood and say, and since my brother died and she's not helping, there was no child, after the burial, get out. And everyone says, yes, you can help childless women like me. We have not chosen to be here. It could happen to you the way it has happened to me, even though that is not my prayer. And if you're a waiting husband, I call it waiting because I believe that no woman is barren. That is my honest belief. I think the Lord just withholds so that he may bless us. Even if it's not a bio child, adoption is still okay. And so if you're a waiting husband, please support your spouse. It's so much lighter working together. Go to the hospital. Accept to be checked because trust me, this affects men too. And if you're in my shoe, do not die in silence. I know that feeling, I've been there. I desperately needed support, there was none. Until this pushed me to step out from my formal employment. I had a good job, but I was thinking, who is going to hold someone's hand who needs it? And so I stepped out and said, you know what? Waiting Homes Trust is going to be born from my pain. And we currently stand at a membership of 8,000 amazing, amazing people So please reach out, get a support group, talk to a counselor, talk to someone, because I know so many people undergo depression. Every day we deal with suicidal cases because I've lost probably 6 children. My husband thinks I'm the problem. And sadly, at times, most people, society thinks we are cursed. That is why we are childless. And so life can really get complicated when you're trying to be strong, but your health lets you down. When you're waiting for something indefinitely, we just don't know when it will come. It also gets really complicated when society has so much expectations, and these issues are actually beyond you. 15 years ago, I met a tall, handsome young man. He's watched me cry almost every month and wiped my tears. He's literally stood with me and held my hands and encouraged me when life probably lost meaning. He's reminded me that I'm a special woman, regardless of my current situation. He's gone for 2 surgeries, and probably we are going for a 3rd one, and he's still not getting tired. He's held the hands of other men we are within Waiting Homes Trust and reminded them that marriages can still survive with or without children. And despite his pain and frustration, he still holds my hand. And trust me, we walk with our heads up because we refuse to let childlessness define us. Thank you.
Yeah. Haven't really been myself lately, yeah. Been feeling kinda lost, and trying to be your girl changed me, yeah. It took a while to shake you off, and we appear. I'm learning that I'm still here. Well, these days I can finally feel the old me. I'm coming back to myself. I'm coming back. And these days I cut all the ties left on me. I'm coming back to myself. I'm coming back. Yeah. Back again. I'm coming back to myself. I'm coming back. Yeah. Back again. I'm coming back to myself. I'm coming back. Now I can finally breathe again, yeah. I no longer miss your touch. I don't have to keep chasing, trying to be in love. Where we appear, I'm learning that I'm still here. Well, these days I can finally feel the old me. I'm coming back to myself. I'm coming back. And these days I cut all the ties left on me. I'm
Thank you.
The year is 1999, and the place is the High Holborn Halls of Residence in London. My friend Marian Obo, a Nigerian girl, tells us a funny story about an auntie of hers who was talking to the young girls, and she was reminding them that they needed to make sure that they focused on marriage now that they were almost done with university. She said it was important that they didn't get left by the bus. I had never heard this expression before. I mean, not in that context anyway. And I had so many questions. Where was this bus coming from? Where was it going to? I mean, how big was it? Would they recognize it? Maybe it was an actual bus that was going to take them to the land of marriage. Or maybe the bus driver was the potential husband. Maybe the bus wasn't a bus at all. So many questions. And some of these thoughts and questions have resurfaced as I have continued to live my life as a hardworking, God-fearing, intelligent, attractive, sexy, yet still unmarried woman. Am I still at this bus stop? I mean, is it my fault that the buses haven't come? Maybe, as my darling mother sometimes worries, the bus came and went a long time ago. Hi, Mom. I mean, should I do things differently? Should I change? I mean, it's frustrating, isn't it? You wake up one day and everybody around you is married. Your friends, your nieces. Even some of your aunties are getting married for the second time. And you're still at the bus stop. And as if that doesn't sting enough, this auntie, during wedding number 2, because of course you're there as a flower girl, this auntie says, "My dear, what are you girls of today waiting for? What are you looking for, Mr. Right? A perfect angel? They do not exist. Just pick someone." Pick someone and clean them up. And just start. It will work out. God is there. God is there. But life is fair, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, that is a fact. Why? Because life ensures that there is balance. Just think about it for a few minutes. Every time bad things happen, good ones are right behind, just itching to happen. It's like they're just waiting for these bad things to happen and get out of the way. I know that we maybe have different conversations and definitions about what good things are. But it's my story, and so we are going to agree that good things are simply things or people that make us feel simple. I mean, I've gotten close, somewhat close, several times before. One, he earned his angel wings, may he rest in peace. And the other one, he just wanted to be my friend. My buddy, I think he was looking for a best friend. And you can imagine my shock after 2 years of what I thought was courtship. You now see why definitions are important. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Definitions. So my bus has not shown up yet. And if it has not yet stated which route it's going on, or its number, or its name, or its intention. But I can promise you that some bicycles and some borders some tuk-tuks, and even 1 or 2 pro boxes have... they've driven by, Some have stopped for a while, they've taken me on a ride or 2, and then they have driven off. Remember, again, this is my story. So I maintain that any form of transportation that moves you forward is a good thing. I call this the in the meantime theory. And I call them the meanwhiles. The ones the universe sends your way to be a breath of fresh air, to help you deal with the pain, to remind you that you are worth loving, to help you get your groove back. Yes, even those ones are very important. But more importantly, they're there to help you restore balance while you wait. Let me be more specific. How many of us here have been in bad relationships? And how many of us have been in relationships that never went anywhere? How many are holding out hope that the one you're with now is the one? Let it go. Let it go. I remember how devastated I was when it was over. When it ended, God, I cried and I cried and I cried and I didn't shower. And I ate more chocolate than perhaps I should have. And finally, after what seemed like months, it felt like the cloud lifted. And I thought, yeah, maybe I can face the world again. And so I showered. And I went to sing because, singing gives me life. It's my oxygen. It's important to me. And something interesting started happening when I was singing. My eyes began to sparkle. Yes, African eyes do that also. And my lips began to smile. And it wasn't so bad anymore. Enter stage right, the meanwhile. You see, he caught my eyes as they sparkled. And he caught sight of my mouth as it smiled. And he walked right up to me and he said hello and he asked if he could buy me a drink. I stared at him, incredulous that he had even seen me. Might I add at this juncture that this human being was such a fine specimen. I forgot what Mr. Nani of 2 years of courtship looked like. Now remember, it doesn't matter how long this interaction lasts. It doesn't even matter that he might be older than you or younger than you or a foreigner and none of you can actually understand a word the other is saying, but somehow you're still able to communicate. It matters only that he saw you. And for that brief moment, you felt happy and beautiful and worth something. The secret is that at that moment, you should get down on your knees quickly and whisper a prayer of thanksgiving. Because in my opinion, these are gifts. I believe that they are, at least they have been for me. I believe that the things that make me happy are the things I will spend my days doing. And if a handsome, warm, and friendly, meanwhile, wants to take me out for dinner, or hold my hand just there when we're watching a movie, or rub my feet, or just listen to me talking and talking and talking, then I'm okay with that. Because it means I'm human. And it's actually very good practice for when my permanent comes along. Actually, come to think of it, maybe one of these meanwhiles might graduate and become a permanent. You never know. I've learned that we are all creatures of want, despite the fact that we can survive on basic needs. So let me, on all our behalves, be unapologetic and say that I want many things. I want more money, I want kisses, I want children, simply because I owe the world some of my awesomeness, actually. I owe you all at least a lawyer, a musician. Okay, an engineer how many are those now? An engineer, all right. And then a thespian. And maybe one who can do whatever, but they're really a part-time chef and a full-time dancer. I want to eat chocolate and not grow fat. In fact, I want to eat chocolate and lose weight, Somebody make that. I want a person. I just want more time. And I want to just be around forever, which of course is not possible. And of late, I don't know where this came from, but I want long walks. I don't know why, but I hope that they're along a beach or a road, just nowhere with many, many rocks. I've chosen to live my life and live it to the fullest. So I wake up every morning, I give thanks, I work hard, I sing, I act, I cook, I spend time with my family, I try and make a difference where I can, I go out and see my friends. And that's my life because that's who I am. It's interesting, some of my male friends, and ironically there are many of them, they've confessed that they find ladies like me intimidating. And I don't know why. Because, I looked up the word in the dictionary and my picture was not there. Next to the definition. So I don't know. But if me doing my life and doing me is intimidating, then maybe that's the reason why I'm still single, unmarried. But I believe, and I said it earlier, that life is fair and life ensures balance. And that same life gave me these gifts. And that same life will bring that guy who needs my version of me in his life, and I need his version of me in my life, so that we can complete each other. Choir, this is where you all sigh in unison. Amen. Hallelujah. So here's my invitation. To those of you whose bus has not shown up yet, to those whose bus has taken a detour, to those whose bus has broken down somewhere along the way and is waiting for AA to come and rescue it, to those whose bus is stuck in traffic, behind the tuk-tuk and the boda-boda, remember life is fair. Your bus will show up at the right time, and I promise you will recognize it. So in the meantime, can we all just keep on doing the things that we love doing? Because I'm going to throw the biggest party at the bus stop. Thank you.
I didn't quite know how to tell you that I really love to get high. I really, really love to get high. And I don't mean like the cute, music video high, like I'm talking like Kawangware Kibera falling off your tire into mud type of high, okay? Marijuana, cocaine, heroin, crystal meth. I love to get high. Now, I know you're probably thinking like, she's too cute to be a drug addict. And the thing is that if you have already Googled my name, you'll see that mugshot that's on the internet, which will probably fit the description a little bit better about what I'm about to tell you about. Don't do it right now. Just wait till I get done, okay? So let me tell you a little bit more about how this love affair of mine began. I was the type of person that flew to school on private chartered planes. I played, the kinds of sports that you play in teams with, fancy little hockey sticks and little short skirts. And the biggest responsibility that I had at that point in time was making sure that I kissed the boys that my dad told me not to kiss, and that I occasionally smoked a cigarette behind the chapel, or snuck a beer, and maybe a little bit of, and a sneaky little joint here and there. And, with this life that I had, where I would drive through the Langata neighborhoods, and I'd drive up the hill, and as I pulled up to my gate, it would already start opening because the watchman had heard the sound of the Range Rover coming up the street, so already began to open the gates. And as I breezed into my driveway with our pedigree dog that we flew in first class over from South Africa, and our imported palm tree, which was the centerpiece of the roundabout in our driveway, I realized this is my life. I'm home. I get out of the range and I walk up to the door, the big oak door that has the custom-made brass knocker that says, "Nandi Kegode, this is your life." One day, my dad sits me down and he says, "Nandi, we don't have the money that we used to have. I can't afford to send you to university." I was like, okay, bye, but he's like, no, I really need you to understand, I can't afford to send you to school. You need to join the US military. I was like, no, okay? After diplomacy had failed, my dad sat me down again and he was like, look, this is the only option that we have. Or you can go back to Shags. Now, obviously, I couldn't let all of this go to Shags, right? So I was like, let's go. And if that doesn't give you a little bit of an idea of where my sensibilities were at, that I would rather go to another country to fight another man's war rather than go back to my homeland, that ought to give you a little bit of an idea of the distortion that was going on in my mind. So off I went to the US military. And I wasn't happy about it. In fact, I thought that this was the most unfair thing that had happened to me in my whole life. How dare he? How dare anybody put me in the position where I have to work for a living? In the military, I discovered a new set of friends. I discovered the set of friends that helped to perpetuate those feelings of self-pity and victimization and so on and so forth, coupled with even better friends, pain medication. And I was like, this is it. I have arrived. My addiction to pain medication kicked in, threw me into a whole new gear. And what I didn't realize was that I was slowly eating away at everything inside my body. And I became depressed. And the depression got so deep and it got so dark so quickly that I began to question, why was I alive? Why am I living? What point is there to me being here? I was suffering so much that I contemplated taking my life. And as I contemplated taking my life, I decided the best way for me to do that was to take a bunch of sleeping pills, which I did. And when I woke up, I was so angry. I was like, God, I can't even do this right. So with that frustration and that anger, I took it out on everything in my environment. I took it out on all of the people that supposedly loved me. I took it out on my friends. And I decided that the only friends that I needed were my pain pills, my marijuana, and my cocaine. And me and my friends saw myself out of the US military. We came back home because I thought, as long as I can get back to Kenya, as long as I can get back to all of you, my life will be okay. I'll be fine. That didn't happen. I turned into a completely different human being. I was a rage monster. I was so full of anger and frustration because I was told at the schools that I went to, as long as I passed my common entrance, I did my A-levels, I got into a good university, my life would be set. It would be laid out for me. What am I doing here? My parents got so frustrated, they got so scared because I was so abusive towards the rest of my siblings that they threw me out. And I said to myself, well, if my own parents are going to throw me out, then I should just run away. And I did. I ran away, and I didn't contact my family for 2 years. 2 years, they had no idea where I was. But during those 2 years, I accumulated more friends. Heroin and crystal meth. Now, I can't really explain to you in a way that you could possibly understand my love affair with that drug called heroin, okay? It speaks my language. It's custom made for me. It is the most beautiful, sublime thing that I have ever experienced in my whole entire life. And I said to it, look, I'll give you my family, I'll give you my friends, I'll give you everything I got. Just keep me happy, just keep me here, keep me in this place. Don't ever leave me, please. Eventually, I started stealing from my friends. I started stealing from my family. I had to make sure that I was there for all of my friends, right? I had to make sure I was there for the marijuana. I was there for the cocaine, because these were the people that were going to be with me until the day that I died. So I was on a full-fledged commitment here, people. I wasn't about to throw in the towel. Okay? So at one point, I was homeless. I was homeless in Las Vegas, and I'd just stolen a pack of salami from the Hard Rock Cafe casino. Okay? I hadn't eaten in days. And one of my really good friends, Crystal Meth, was eating away at my body, so I needed to make sure that I refilled my body so that I had the sustenance to be able to take care of my friend, right? And when I was walking down the street, and I saw the same types of girls that I went to school with, and as I walked past them and smiled to wave at them, they walked right past me, like they didn't know who I was, like they didn't see me. I was so confused, and as I was walking down to the women's shelter to get a bed for the night, I stood in line perplexed, and this other woman rolled up next to me, pulled up her shirt, and proceeded to take a dump on the pavement right next to me. I was horrified. How dare you? And then in that moment, she gave me one of those looks that said to me, and who are you? Who do you think you are? You think that you're better than me? Look where you are. You've been jailed. You've been beaten by cops. You have no home. You're stealing from your family. You have no identity. How dare you look at me? In that moment, I realized that I had been so foolish. I had deluded myself into thinking that because of the neighborhood that I grew up in, the places that I went to school, that I was better than someone who lived on the street. And that perspective that I shared in that particular moment made me sick to my stomach. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I could possibly pull myself up from where I was, because I was like, you are Nandi, K-E-G-O-D-E. You do not go out like this. What are you going to do? I was down in that bottom of that pit. I was in it. It was so low. I didn't know whether I wanted to live or die. I knew that I couldn't keep feeding my friends. I didn't have anything left on my body. I tried everything, but yet the voices in my head just told me that I needed to keep taking it, but I couldn't sustain it. I couldn't sustain it in my body anymore. So I had to do something different. And so I called all my friends to the table and I said, look, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, crystal meth, guys, I love you. but I don't think we can be friends anymore. It was the most heartbreaking realization that I've ever had. Because as the wounds on my arm started to heal from where I would repeatedly pierce myself with the needles, I cried because I knew that this was a friendship that I was never going to be able to salvage. I knew that the time had come for me to be bold. So as I stood on the precipice there, on the knife point, and the only thing stopping me from falling into oblivion was just a breeze, I decided that I was going to be of service. Slowly by slowly, I started with my cheek, and then I started with my teeth, and then with my nails, and eventually I pulled myself out of the hole that I had put myself into. It didn't happen straight away, but at one point during this climb, a child said to me in a school that I worked in, she said, "Miss Nandi, I love you." You love me? I don't love me. How can you love me? And I thought to myself, that's my purpose right there. To children. To be of service to the children of this world. And so I fought, and I left my friends behind. And I found myself in the position to finally be empowered to be of service to my fellow man. There is nothing in this world that I love to do more than get high. But being of service is the greatest high I've ever known. So to all the young people out there that might not know where the direction is going, or to any of any of you who might not understand why it is that you do what you do, or what it is in life you're preparing yourself for, just understand that you're the only person in this entire world that sees the world the way you do. And if you are not here to experience the world the way you do, the world's just not going to have that. And while you may seem so small in such an infinitesimal universe, you are so important because you are the only one of your kind. School is important, but it is not everything. There is nothing more that I learned than from the school of life. Okay? Do the best you can to discover your purpose, and when you do, be bold. Be foolish, but best of all, be of service.
I had your meeting with that girl from the city. I heard that she's just returned from the UK, yeah. She must have an accent, the kind that you like. It is hard to accept. I must say I don't like that. You're moving on and I am still here weeping. This is the third song that I'm writing, yeah. Kisa, I'm a winjarico. Kisa, I'm a winjarini. Oh, kisa, I'm a winjarico. Yeah, kisa, I'm a winjarini. Listen, Jojo mitorie monyiri to go kubedo any different. You enjoy? Paka thuoli gomito gimali alimeno bedo hizi favorite Lake lorine chayo dikini Ogoyirine simo dieno Okelirine chemo dikini Oterini pecho katigenyo Kisa ama winjorigo Listen. Kimachako rumo, kisi kimachako rumo, 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 rumo, kimachako rumo. Kisi kimachako rumo, kimachako rumo, kisi kimachako rumo, kisa ama winjarigo, kisa ama winjarini, kisa ama winjarigo, ama winjariwini, kisa ama winjarini. You want to try that? Or not? You do? It's very easy. Kisa. Hey. Oh yeah. Kisa. Can we try the gaze first? Kisa. No. Kisa. Oh, really? The ladies? Kisa. Oh, nice. Kisa. So beautiful. Can we do it together? Kisa. I'm a winjariga. I'm just one person. I can't be louder than you. Kisa. I'm a winjarini. Let's go. All together. Kisa. I'm a winjariga. Bye.
I'm going to tell you a story about Carol, about Matthew, and about Jeff. And any resemblance to actual persons or events may or may not be purely coincidental. But first, I'm going to take you back a bit. My undergraduate course, my undergraduate major, was in computer science. And it's not a major that I picked directly. My parents, who had seen the shift of the times, picked it for me. I honestly did not want to do it, but I was the child, they were the parents, they were paying the fees. So I buckled up and I got on with it. And to be honest, I hated my learning experience in campus. I failed my programming units. The syntax of them were absolutely made no sense to me. And I definitely felt way in over my head. And the entire experience left me feeling very less than, smaller than my 5-foot self. And for me, that was not a normal feeling. You see, I came from a high school. I was in Moi Girls, Nairobi, better known as Cabs. And when a Kaberian walked into a room, you knew she had arrived. We commanded an aura. We demanded a presence. We were also very loud, but that's not where I'm going with this. But we were very confident. I was confident. And all of a sudden, I was not. I felt less than. And I honestly could not wait to finish with that experience and then move away from it. My first job immediately after leaving university was at a local tech company. And I was assigned to a senior techie to show me the ropes. He asked me one question: "What have you done?" Quite simple, right? And I responded that I had just been given the power to read. He looked at me, an almost bored expression on his face, and he says, "Oh, so we are starting from scratch." And there it was again, that less than feeling creeping up. And I knew at that moment that I had something to prove, and not necessarily to him, but to myself as well. And so I rolled up my sleeves and I got to work. I was in tech support. And if you know tech support, it's doing really small things. It's finding the W on someone's keyboard because they can't find it, right? But doing these small things, I got to do them with great intention. Basically, like looking for, a quest for excellence. And eventually, I found a niche, and I homed in on it, learning everything that I could about it. And people started to notice. The customers would ask directly for me. Certain deployments became synonymous with my name. And I have to admit this, I started to enjoy it. But the most important thing, I was not at scratch anymore. And eventually, just like millennials, I'm a millennial, by the way, I started getting restless. And I wanted to move on to the next thing. And so I did what everybody does. I scoured the dailies and, on the internet for jobs. I applied. I was called in for interviews because on paper, I looked very good. But even on the way to the interview, I would begin to get into my own head, telling myself that there's no way that I qualified for those jobs and that they anyway would not pick me. And I guess that permeated because they would not pick me. And in the midst of all this, Carol walked in with her MacBook. I'd never worked on a MacBook before, but she was assigned to me. And after that, I was the only person who did any work for Carol, with her laptop or subsequent upgrades that she would get. And even after I had moved on from that job, Carol would still call me, asking me why her laptop was doing something that it should not be doing. And even now, when I'm very far removed from hands-on tech, if Carol called me, telling me that she could not find that W on her keyboard, I would drop everything and try and find out where has that W gone. How Carol took me under her wing was completely organic. It's not something we planned, it just happened. She would sit next to me as I fiddled with her laptop, and she would talk. And as she talked, she would drop a gem or two or 9. That I was a young woman in tech and that I should savor it. And that I should make the most of it. But also that because I was a young woman in tech, I should brace for impact. And not avoid it, but be ready for it. And that sounded scary all those years back. But Carol, since then, I have learned what you meant. Our relationship has become more intentional over the years. And over a glass of wine, Carol and I will laugh about my latest travel escapades. But we will also have candid conversations around the missteps I think I have made, or my current position, current projects I may have, and even over lingering life choices. Right. And the relationship that I have with her set the foundation for the relationships that I would have with women just like her. For you see, I am well surrounded by remarkable women, and Carol is a representative of them. I call them my life's board of directors.
These very busy and very important, slightly older women these very busy and very important, very loud, slightly older women who are willing to go beyond anything to guide me just through my entire journey. They will listen to my less than talk, but they do not allow me to wallow in it. Right? They are affirming, telling me that I am not an imposter, that I deserve to be in that room and sitting at that table. Or even just tell me to bring my table in as well. Right? The respect that I have for them is overwhelming at times because with everything that they have accomplished and everything that they continue to achieve, they still find the time to reach down the ladder and pull me, and not just me, other women as well, up with them. Women helping women. When I write my book, it will be a chapter on its own, and because for me, it has been the rule and not the exception. I am so fortunate not to have known anything else. Or maybe it's that I don't focus on the rest. Right. Eventually, I did attend another interview, and Matthew was in this interview. He was joined as well by the regional business director of the company. And when we were done, the director was very candid with me. And he told me that if it were up to him, he would not pick me, because I did not have the requisite experience necessary. He wanted somebody who would hit the ground running, but I definitely would have a learning curve. It was a sort of career shift. Thankfully, it was not up to him. It was up to Matthew, and Matthew picked me. So Matthew and my direct manager basically let me run with it, creating the strategy, executing it, managing budgets, the entire thing. And I blossomed. I wasn't second-guessing myself. My head was holding itself a bit higher, maybe 1 or 2 inches. And to date, that workplace is one of my favorite past workplaces. About 1.5 years to 2 years in, Matthew decided to add more responsibilities to my plate. In his words, to see if I could do it. I embraced them. It was a matter of sinking or swimming, wasn't it? And to be honest, I swam. Eventually, I won an award on behalf of the company for Best Achiever in Africa, and the award ceremony was going to be held in Dubai. I remember attending the ceremony. I remember my company name and my name being called out to go and receive the award. And I remember walking up to the stage. But do you know what was going through my mind as I did all that? Do you remember the regional business director? He'd written me an email that afternoon, and it said, "Congratulations, Wangoi. You proved me wrong, and I'm glad you did." All because Matthew said, "Let's see if you can do this." Which brings us to the now. Along my current journey, I embarked on my postgraduate education. And so my inner circle, most of them had already done theirs. And let's just say it's the good kind of peer pressure to have, right? And that's where Jeff comes in. I asked Jeff, who is one of the directors at my current company, to write the recommendation for my application. It took me a month to work up the courage to ask Jeff that. Why? Maybe because I thought he would say no, or maybe because I thought the university would not accept me. Looking back, I honestly can't tell you why. But Jeff said yes the minute I did ask him, and the university accepted me. I graduated from Stanford this past March. And after my parents, Jeff was one of the first people that I sent a message to, telling him thank you, and let's continue this journey. And after debating, we figured that continuing the journey meant a structured mentorship relationship. And I'd never been in one before. I did not want to go in ill-prepared for our first session. So who did I call? Carol. And she gave me 45 minutes of her time. And by the time I went in for that first call, and subsequent ones that Jeff and I have had, the foundation that she helped me to set has taken me much further than I ever dreamed. Jeff pulls no punches at all. And he has taken to putting me on projects that absolutely stretch me. But also projects that without his help, I would not be on, or I would take forever to get on. Jeff knows that he can open doors for me and for other people, and he completely relishes doing that. He's a complete example of people wanting other people to succeed, and I'm a complete testament to such people existing. And in the course of all this, I learned a couple of things about myself. That my quest for excellence was rooted in a paralyzing fear of failure. I was definitely afraid to fail. And when I failed, I just didn't know how to get back up. Second thing is that I was just as smart, or perhaps even smarter than the people in the room. That I had something to say, and even more, that they wanted to hear what I wanted to say. And the third thing is that I was the master, the queen of standing in my own way. Right? And all this continued to be sort of rolling shifts that I deal with day by day. But do not get me wrong. I can stand here and tell you that I did everything by myself. That I put in the hard work. I did. That the achievements, the awards, the promotions have all been me. I mean, honestly, they have. They've been saying my name, right? But there are pulling or pushing forces that propel us in one way or another. It could be your parents reading the signs of the times and guiding you, gently shoving you toward them. Or it could be that guy at your first job who in no uncertain terms tells you that you know nothing. The women that you meet along the way who both pull you up and push you forward. The boss who nudges you toward your potential. Or the director who throws you into the deep end because he knows you will swim. So allow me to raise a glass to these people, to my parents. Maybe I should let them make more of my life's decisions. To Carol and my team of very important and very busy women, I am well braced for impact. Thank you. To Matthew and to Jeff, thank you for showing me that there are men who are willing to help us break the ceiling from the top. All right. We live in a culture that values self-reliance. Saying that I am self-made is a good thing. But shifts, and especially my shifts, were not done in isolation. I am because all these people are. Thank you.
Come on. I heard a voice tell me I'm essential. How all my fears are limiting my potential. Said it's time to step into the light and use every bit of the power 1, 2, eh. Okay, let me hear you say eh with them. Eh. Ah, yeah. What can you go up and say? Eh. Yeah, one more time. Say it again. Come on, join them in. One more time. Here we go. Say eh. Just do you.